Why aren't more people in church? I don't know if you've ever had that conversation. I know within our congregation, there are times that we are looking around at people perhaps in our families, people who have attended before, just people we see every day in our little village here in Nova Scotia, and wonder, well, why aren't these people in church? We enjoy church. It's a great thing for us. It's something that we value. So where are they? Well, that's a good question. And I would like to suggest that there's not just one reason for this. And this is important because sometimes we think that, if we just go up to a person and tell them they need to be in church, that that's somehow going to do it. That does not necessarily work. It might work for some people, but most often it's not. And I think it's important to find out why people are not in church. So I'm going to offer 6 reasons why people are not in church. And now I'm not suggesting that there's not a 7th, 8th, or 9th reason, but these are 6 reasons that we should consider and talk about, and just to be aware. And so the first reason is that they have had a bad experience in church. Now, this can look in numerous ways. It could be that they had a pastor who had a toxic style of leadership, and we hear a lot of stories of this. It could have been a moral failing that took place within the leadership. It could have been just people within the church, lay people who perhaps were a bit of a bully or judgmental or whatever it was. Something bad happened, and they are not interested in going back. And even if they know in their minds that not every church will be exactly like the place where they had the bad experience, in their hearts they're going to feel that hesitation to make themselves vulnerable again. A second reason why some people don't go to church is because they have experienced family pressure. So perhaps they grew up in a very religious household, and it was something that faith was strongly pushed upon the people in the family. And I'm dealing with this one with kid gloves here because I realize there's a lot of question about how parents should raise their children and in which ways they should instill Christian faith into their lives. Now, I do try to encourage my children to grow in faith, and at younger ages, we made them go to church. Now that they're teenagers, we don't make them go to church, and we are very sensitive to how they look at church, especially with my experience as a pastor. I don't want them to see church as something they had to be at because that's what's expected of the pastor's kids. I want them to come to faith in Jesus in a way that is not based upon that family pressure. Some people are going to disagree with me. That's fine. I'm not saying that my way is the right way. What I'm saying is that there are people who have had that, who were told by their parents, this is how you must live out Christianity, and there were very strong rules and a lot of pressure to comply with that. And for some people, as soon as they get that measure of freedom, they are not going back. And the idea of checking out church after all of that feels like giving in to that pressure from the family setting that they grew up in. Right or wrong, that's one of the reasons why some people don't go to church. A third reason is the family worldview. So, for example, if you look at a family in which the family is Muslim or Jewish or Hindu or atheist. And that's the worldview in which they hold. We shouldn't look at them and all confused of, well, why aren't they in church? They should just be in church. Well, of course they're not in church. That's not what they believe. They may or may not attend their own faith community or however they live out their worldview. But we shouldn't expect that they're going to be just ready to come out to church at a drop of a hat. So some people, that's just not on their radar. That's not a part of what they grew up with in church, of having church expectations or church being a part of their life. And in fact, they have something else, a whole other worldview that replaces Christianity in that. So we have to be aware of that. Number 4, the fourth reason why some people don't come to church is they simply do not see the relevance of it. We might see how the Bible and Christian faith is relevant to everyday life. I'm certainly convinced of it, but not everyone else does. And so we might go and see our neighbor and say, well, shouldn't you be in church? And they might be thinking, well, why? Why would I want to go to church? And for some people, it's just not simply that obvious. They might have some kind of belief in God. The fastest growing religious group is that of the nuns. That is, those who have no religious affiliation. They aren't necessarily atheists, but they don't see any reason to align themselves with any particular religion. They just don't see how it's relevant to everyday life. They need to pay their bills. They need to raise their families. They need to just get through another day in this world that has so many challenges, which again, as Christians, we might see, well, there you go. That's why Christianity is needed. But they've not made that connection, and we need to be aware of that. Now, the fifth one is an interesting one, and that is there are some people who just feel guilty. Now, I realize that there's a certain segment of the church that are convinced that the whole reason for deconstruction is the fact that people want to sin, and so they step away from traditional Christian teachings because they want to sin. They want to do those bad things, and so they step away from Christian faith. And I think that in general, that's not very accurate. That deconstruction is not because someone wants to have casual sex or to abuse drugs or whatever it is that they think people are wanting to do. However, there are going to be some people who are perhaps aware that there are problems with their lifestyle and feel like they cannot come to church. That might manifest in a couple ways. It might be that they're afraid that a congregation would not accept them. Also, they might be afraid that God might not accept them. You'll hear them joke about how if they step into a church, say for a funeral or something like that, that they're afraid that the roof is going to fall in. I hear those kinds of things all the time. And so those are some of the things that are often going on. Now, very interestingly, Jesus spent a lot of time with the kind of people who would be like that. And he went out of his way to make them feel welcome. And so there's a place for the church to respond to that. But then that could get me going preaching on that particular topic. So I'm going to move on to the final one that I'm going to look at, number 6. Some people don't come to church because they've never been invited. There are some people that just are simply not aware, or maybe they've been thinking about it, but they've just not been able to get the motivation to get going. They're maybe afraid of what, they just don't know what's expected in church. How are they supposed to dress and all of those things. And if someone just said, hey, I attend this church. I really enjoy it. The people are great. Uh, they have programs, and the music's great, and all of these other things. Hey, do you want to come out this Sunday? I can pick you up if you want. There are people that will do that. In fact, most new visitors to churches are people who are invited by other people in the church. So for some people, it's simply that they have not been invited. So those are 6 of the reasons that came to my mind, anyways, of why some people don't come to church. I can actually think of a few others that are there, but those 6 are worth considering and worth reflecting on how we can respond and how we can perhaps find ways to initiate conversations and relationships that will help break down some of those barriers. So that's what I have for you for this video. I'd encourage you to check out my website, stephenjbedard.com. And if you appreciate these videos and the other resources I do, such as podcasts and blogs and so on, and you have the resources to help out, I'd be happy to receive support from Patreon. So if you go to patreon.com/hopesreason, there's a way for you to support this work. There's no pressure. I'm never going to make these videos pay only, but I would encourage you to consider how you might be able to support the work that I'm doing. Thank you very much, and God bless.